5 minutes later, our house was completely encircled by 70-foot flames, 5 stories high. So I grabbed my mother's cat to escape. We jumped into a car. We drove down our little driveway, and we found we couldn't go up and we couldn't go down. The only thing that saved us was a good Samaritan who'd been driving along the freeway, and he saw a fire break out in the hills. And because he had a water truck, he drove up to be of help. He wasn't a monk or a holy person necessarily, but he was a good person. And his commitment to goodness saved my life.
How do you hold that sense of like the devastation and loss
Yes.
and the beauty and goodness?
It is exactly what the book is about, because as you know, there's a lot of death in the book and impermanence and reality, and there's a lot of joy. And my thought is, if we neglect either of those, if we neglect hope and if we neglect realism, we're in trouble. So how do we keep the fact of impermanence together with the truth of wonder and beauty and joy and gratitude? Coming so close to losing my life meant that the end of that evening, when I'd lost everything in the world, it didn't seem the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
When I went to the friend's house to sleep on the floor, before I went to sleep, I asked if I could use the computer, because in those long ago days, my job was to be a columnist for Time magazine. And I just had this front seat view on the worst fire in Californian history. So I wrote an account of the day that had just passed. And I ended it, because I'd already been spending time in Japan, with a 17th century haiku, not very well known then, though it's more in the air nowadays, from somebody called Masahide, who said, "My house burnt down. I can now see better the rising moon." So the very evening when I lost everything in my world, all my dreams of being a writer, my next 8 books, which were my next 8 years of writing, in my next 3 books, which were all in handwritten notes, something in me that was wiser than I am realized it wasn't all loss.